A lot of people just don't want to think. And if you don't want to think, then you have no right to complain about what is happening to you. There are solutions, and we must look for the solution. It's not going to come up on the Google. That's not going to happen because they're going to siphon out what they want siphoned out. We are going to have to start listening to other things. We're going to have to be open-minded. And obviously, he is saying a contract between two individuals is better, and that contract is whole life insurance. It's been around for 200 years. So it works. It's always worked. Why should it not continue to work? Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. Today, we are back into Building Your Warehouse of Wealth. This is Nelson's second book. Just a little more clarification on BYOB. And so we are in chapter 5 for the review. I think this is coming to you after Christmas. So I hope you all had a great Christmas. I'm hoping we don't have a blizzard during Christmas. All right. I have a chapter in my book called The Market Scam. And so y'all know that I am not in love with the stock market, and I just never have been. It's, if you read Life Without the Bank, I kind of go into my story a little bit. It's not something that I have ever liked. It took me forever to even invest in the stock market. So I didn't have a lot of money there when I lost half of it in 2008, but it was a lot to me at that point. And so I'm just not a gambler in any way, shape, or form. So I don't like it. Obviously, you're going to hear that Nelson doesn't like it, but there's some good things. There's some good things in this chapter. So he starts out by saying, isn't it funny that the stock markets are referred to as securities? He said, I don't see anything that was secure about Enron, WorldCom, Health South, long-term capital management, etc. How do these charlatans get away with these designations? Words have meaning. So their favorite strategy is to change the meaning of the words. And this is something that if you really listen to some history, some politics, you see that they do this a lot. So they're calling these securities to make you feel like it's secure, right? It's no different than when they change words of other things. Like if you look back at the Federal Reserve, they were going to name it something else, but people voted it down and said, absolutely not. We are not going to have somebody else controlling our money. So then they changed the words of it. Guaranteed retirement account, bill. We've changed the words to that. And I went over that just a couple weeks ago, right? They changed the words to that so that it feels warm and cozy to people. And so what Nelson is saying here is words have meaning. And when we use the wrong word, we can be misleading people. So if the government is doing something, we need to really watch to see what they're doing. I did a podcast for the new savings bill that Trump put out for every child that's born is going to get this $1,000. Ted Cruz was talking about this bill and how amazing it's going to be. And it was all a bunch of dang lies. Even some of this stuff that Trump said was misleading. And I shouldn't say that Ted Cruz was lying, but he was misleading people. And so words have meaning. They do all these things to make you feel good. And you're not paying attention because you're looking at the word security and you're thinking that it's secure. Nelson says, according to all tax qualified plans, when you turn 70 and a half, you must take income from your plan. That has now changed to 73, but a lot of people don't understand that. That means that you have to sell your stocks or mutual fund shares. Who will you sell them to? Where are the buyers in the next generation? Furthermore, there is no way Americans can enjoy their present standard of living without the Chinese or Japanese buying our government bonds. when we buy their merchandise, we pay them with our dollars. They have to then do something with those dollars, so they buy our bonds. I also think that this is very important. I talked to a guy this week, and he was doing an amazing job of saving. He is putting as much money into an IRA as he can every year to reduce his taxes. So you get a lot of people that they're either really good savers or they have high income, and they're like, well, I'm going to put money into a 401k, or I'm going to put money into an IRA, and I'm going to save some money on taxes, right? And so what is not being told, and what I talked about with this guy, is he was 52. I said, do you understand if you keep putting money here at 73 and a half, or 73, because they moved it from 70 and a half to 73. So at 73, you are going to have to take required minimum distribution. And he was a very financially savvy individual, and he had never heard of that. And it's not uncommon for me to come across people that don't know what RMDs are, required minimum distribution. They've changed the rules a little bit on them, but at 73, you are required to take a minimum distribution out of that investment. Regardless if you need it or not, they are requiring you to do that. Why? Because people with a lot of wealth have put their money there. They want their taxes now. They don't want to wait for those taxes. And I've talked about this before. You used to be able to die with these retirement accounts, and the next generation could roll them back into an IRA. Now, it is my understanding that they have to take that out in a 10-year period of time. Just ran into somebody a few weeks ago that had that happen. He acquired investment money, and now he has 10 years in which he has to do something with that money, but he is going to have to pay tax on it. So if the older generation dies, they're not going to wait for somebody down the line to collect taxes. They want to collect those taxes today. So we think that it's this great plan when in fact they're putting guidelines on. So if you really think about it, I find it a little bit interesting. Nelson doesn't talk about this that I'm aware of, that you only truly have control of that money from 59 and a half until 73. Because at 59 and a half, you can do whatever you like with it, right? There's no more penalties on any of it. You can take it out. You can do whatever you want. At 73 now, they're telling you what you can do with it again. Before 59 and a half, there were regulations telling you what you could do with it. If you could use it, if you had a 10% penalty, whatever all the rules were before 59 and a half. So really, only between 59 and a half and 73 are you smart enough to apparently make your own decisions. Nelson says that baby boomers who will have to sell their stocks and mutual funds, what happens to the value of these things when there are no buyers? All hell is going to break loose in the economy at that time. He said, again, at the time of this writing, 2012, suppose that you had your retirement nest egg in stocks and mutual funds and you just turned 70 and a half in 08. Great time to be selling, huh? Because in 08, right, everything was falling apart. He has some more stuff in here about some books and all those sort of things that you can read. And then he talks about if you've ever eaten some corn. He said if you count the kernels of corn on one cob, you are going to have 500 kernels. Put a kernel in the ground and you will get a corn stalk that has about 3 ears. Now, suppose you are going to be taxed by the government. On which would you rather be taxed, the seed or the harvest? So years ago, I did this. This is old, but I use this as an example when I speak. So here we are again. And I actually used this as an example not that long ago in another podcast. My dad grew corn years ago. They haven't planted corn in a long time, but they did this particular year, which was super handy. So I went and got 2 kernels of corn, right? That was 2 stalks of corn. And these 2 kernels produced this. What do I want to pay tax on? Do I want to pay tax on this, or do I want to pay tax on this? And what Nelson is saying is we're putting money into our 401k and these IRAs, and we're taking a tax deduction on this, right? It's 2 kernels. We're saying, hey, let's get a tax deduction on this. And then if it grows like they say it will, compound interest, right? That's what they say. We're going to pay tax on this. But when you get here, this is supposed to be a lower tax bracket. Okay. Well, how is this a lower tax bracket if they keep increasing our tax brackets? How is that a lower tax bracket? So when we start taking this out, are we going to have to pay more taxes? How is this a lower tax bracket when we've sold our business and we don't have business write-offs? How is this a lower tax bracket when we quit farming and we no longer have farm expenses to write off? How is this a lower tax bracket when we have apartments and we've got real estate with rental income, and now we have rental income, we have Social Security income, and now at 73, we have to take money out of this jar. We need to access this. How is that a lower tax bracket? It's not a lower tax bracket, right? We have not seen in history that tax brackets have gone down. And so people that are deferring tax on this, and they have deductions now, right? They've got a business, they've got kids, they have a mortgage deduction, they have all the things. They're not taking a tax break on this because they think they're going to be in a lower tax bracket in the future. And the only way to be in a lower tax bracket in the future is to take less money or to live on less money. So that means everything I did as a really good business owner, everything I did as a great investor, as a great saver, I'm going to be penalized at 73 or before, because now it's all ordinary income to me, and I'm going to have to pay tax on that. So do we want to pay tax on the seed, or do we want to pay tax on the harvest? Maybe when you visualize it, it makes more sense. But we are so consumed with what are our taxes today that we just keep kicking the can down the road. And would we have been better off to do it today? He says, lies, lies, lies. This is how Nelson used to say it. Lies, lies, lies. Americans have swallowed these lies for many years, but eventually reality sets in and there are all kinds of despair. Woe is us. What can be done? And they clamor for more government plans to rectify the disaster that was caused by the original government plan. Unbelievable. There is nothing that is more certain sign of insanity than to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Albert Einstein. And that's what we're doing, right? We keep going back to the government to fix our problems, fix our problems. Why don't you help us? Why don't you give us $1,000 per child that's born so that they have something to pay for college? They have a start in life. It's $1,000. That's not going to be a start for anybody. In today's economy, who has the money to add extra? Very few people. Who's actually paying attention to what's happening? Very few people. It's just, we always want someone else to come in and take care of us. Nelson continues on and says, does this help in recognizing the boiled frog syndrome? Remember, we talked about the boiled frog. Slowly, they're just taking control of us and we don't even recognize it. We don't even recognize it because they have us so busy, concerned about other things that we just say, okay, yeah, let them take care of it. Governments promote their plans through the use of lies, but eventually the truth will come out. Free people contracting with one another can solve all of our financial and economic problems, but one has to recognize a lie when it shows up. All tax-qualified retirement plans need to be avoided like the plague because they are. We have to start paying attention. And for whatever reason, We don't want to pay attention to our money. I would love to hear why people don't pay attention, but those people aren't listening. So I got to find them somewhere, right? Y'all that are listening are paying attention to your money. I have always paid attention to money. It is something that is important to me. And so I don't understand why people don't pay attention. I shouldn't say I don't understand. I get why some people don't pay attention. And life is just busy, right? We're running kids around. We've got to go to work. Maybe we have 2 or 3 jobs. But is it because we think we don't want to read anything? Oh, I don't want to educate myself on that. Why? In today's world, when we have so many podcasts and we have so much driving time, what are we listening to? How are we utilizing our time? Is it just shows on Netflix, or are we watching something that's worthwhile? I have a really hard time watching something that's not a documentary or that I can't learn from. I typically just don't. It's rare for me. We watched the NFR for the last 10 days. And then the next day, my husband went ice fishing. So I had the house to myself. And rarely do I turn the TV on. If he's gone, the TV's not on. And so I turned the TV on and I watched a couple of Christmas shows. And he got home and I said, here's a remote. I've watched more TV in the last 11 days than I have in the last probably 2 or 3 years. So I'm done. I don't even know if I'll watch the NFR next year. It was just a lot of TV time for me. It is like I didn't get anything done at night. Typically at night, I'm sitting and I'm scrolling and I'm learning stuff, even if it's on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or whatever I'm on. I might be on YouTube. I'm learning stuff. I'm listening to stuff. In the morning, I'm listening to a podcast. And so I have a really hard time just listening to something that is fiction, right? I'm just a nonfiction kind of girl. So anyway, people just don't pay attention. And eventually the government can just come in and make these rules for us and we don't even know what they are. I thought this was interesting. He says something to ponder. The U.S. Post Office was established in 1775. The government has had 237 years to get it right, and it is broke. It is beyond broke, Nelson. Oh, it's so bad. Social Security was established in 1935, 77 years to get it right, and it is broke. Fannie Mae was established in 1938. They've had 74 years to get it right, and it is broke. War on poverty started in 1964. The government has had 48 years to get it right. $1 trillion of our money is confiscated each year and transferred to the poor. They want more. Medicare and Medicaid was established in 1965. The government has had 47 years to get it right, and they are broke. Freddie Mac was established in 1970. The government has had 42 years to get it right, and it is broke. The Department of Energy, established in 77, to lessen our dependence on foreign oil. It has ballooned to 16,000 employees with a budget of $24 billion a year, and we import more oil than ever before. They've had 35 years to get it right, and it is a failure. The government has failed in every government service they have shoved down our throats while overspending our tax dollars. You want to trust these folks with your plans for your retirement through tax-qualified plans? Who is the problem here? And you look at these folks to educate your children. Amazing. It must be because of the way you think. Well, that was a mic drop, wasn't it, Nelson? It is the way we think. It is because we have to look outside of what is pushed on us, and we have to start reading some other stuff and using some logic, right? Nelson said infinite banking is a practice of imagination, reason, logic, and prophecy. And I think that my feeling is we don't do any of those things. A lot of people just don't want to think. And if you don't want to think, then you have no right to complain about what is happening to you. There are solutions, and we must look for the solution. It's not going to come up on the Google. That's not going to happen because they're going to siphon out what they want siphoned out. We are going to have to start listening to other things. We're going to have to be open-minded, all of the above. But I don't want the government teaching my kids about money. I've talked about that recently as well. I don't think the schools should be teaching our kids about money. We should be teaching our kids about money and finances. But in order for us to do that, we have to learn it, which means we have to take time to do that. I don't know that hardly any of this is likely. I don't have high hopes, but somebody at some point is going to say, hey, this is not okay. I'm fed up with this. What other avenues do we have? And obviously, he is saying a contract between two individuals is better, and that contract is whole life insurance. It's been around for 200 years. So it works. It's always worked. Why should it not continue to work? All right, you guys, if you have not gotten Building Your Warehouse of Wealth, go ahead, order this book. You can get it on farmingwithoutthebank.com. If you haven't gotten your Farming Without the Bank book yet, get this one, get Nelson's book, BYOB. If you are wanting to kind of deep dive into more of everything infinite banking, this is a good one. This is a good one. All right. And he's got reading recommendations in here. Okay, so I'm not reading you the whole book. This isn't story time. I'm not the best storyteller. So grab the book so you know what his recommended readings are. I didn't even realize he had so many in here, so I'll be going back and getting some of those books as well so that I can learn more. All right, you guys know the routine. MaryJo at withoutthebank.com or get your book, farmingwithoutthebank.com. Schedule your appointment and let us know how we can help. You have a fantastic rest of your day.